Last Tuesday, I realized I had been brushing my teeth for way too long. Not great dental hygiene long, more like, does this man need help long. I checked the clock, 4 minutes had passed, and in those 4 minutes I had answered 3 imaginary emails, remembered a friend I forgot to text back, panicked about a deadline I invented, and somehow managed to feel behind on a day that hadn't even started. There I was, foaming like a stressed out cappuccino already overwhelmed before sunrise. And the sad part, this wasn't a one-off moment of existential dental hygiene. This was my life. I brush my teeth fast so I can rush to get dressed, so I can rush to sit down at my desk, so I can rush through my tasks, rush through meetings, rush through dinner, rush through getting my daughter dressed for bed, and rush through my own bedtime routine so I can wake up and rush through it all again. I'm basically living on 2x speed, and not in the cool I'm efficient way, but in the I'm skipping over my actual life way. And what finally hit me last Tuesday was that I don't always feel behind because of how much I have to do. I feel behind because of how often I'm leaving the moment before I even arrive in it. And what's wild is that even when I finally put the toothbrush down, part of my brain was still back on those fake emails. Psychologists call this attention residue, when a tiny part of your focus stays stuck on whatever you were just thinking about. So even when you switch tasks, your brain doesn't switch with you. It's still buffering. And once your morning shatters like that, the rest of your day follows. Suddenly, your time turns into time confetti. Little paper scraps of half focus and half tasks that never add up to anything meaningful. You feel busy, but nothing feels done. And this is where the doom loop begins. Every micro distraction resets your mental progress. Each one gives your brain a tiny dopamine hit, rewarding you for starting something new, not finishing what you're already doing. By noon, you've lived 7 miniature days inside one actual day. You've switched contacts 100 times, and you have the emotional stability of a toddler who missed a nap. Which leads to the strangest part. The more fragmented your attention becomes, the more your sense of time distorts. The day moves fast, but you feel slow. Like you're running underwater. You feel behind, not because you're actually behind, but because your brain never gets the closure it needs to feel caught up. A few months ago, I had one of those days where nothing was technically wrong, but everything felt off. I'd sit down to work, then remember my water bottle, which I misplaced for the 14th time that day, open my laptop, then remember a message I forgot to send, start writing a script, then suddenly I'd be reorganizing my studio like Netflix was coming to film a documentary. By the end of the day, I had done a lot, but I had finished nothing. And when I finally sat down that night, I felt like I was behind. On work, chores, being a good dad, being a good husband, behind on sleep, and behind on goals I made up in the first place. It was like chasing a bus I was already on. Feeling behind is an emotion, not a measurement. It's what happens when your brain is constantly halfway into the next moment without ever closing the loop on the current one. Somewhere along the line, our brains stop doing one thing at a time. Not because we're bad people, but because everything in our lives encourages fragmentation. Phones, notifications, Slack pings, ads, reminders, alerts, the voice in your head telling you you're behind. Again, technology has outpaced the part of our brain that regulates attention. We weren't built for 400 micro distractions a day. Our nervous system hears all of them as tiny emergencies. So your brain starts sprinting even when you're standing still. Even when you're just brushing your teeth. And eventually the sprint becomes the default. You stop feeling like you're living and start feeling like you're catching up. To what? Who knows? You never get close enough to see it. I wish I could tell you I solved this with a 7-step morning routine and a really aesthetic planner. But no, I tried that. I have the abandoned Notion templates to prove it. What actually helped me were small, subtle shifts, not hacks, not systems, just relearning how to actually arrive in the moment I'm in. Stuff like pausing between tasks even for 5 seconds, just enough time for your mind to catch up to your body. Finishing one thing completely before touching the next, even if it's something tiny. Your brain loves closure, gives you momentum, instead of fragmentation. putting my phone in another room during work blocks so I'm not trying to do deep work with a digital toddler screaming for attention in my pocket, letting boring moments stay boring so my brain relearns how to exist without stimulation. Boredom is where your mind reassembles itself. Or doing less, but actually completing the things I choose to do. Because when everything is urgent, nothing is. And slowly, I stopped feeling like life was sprinting away from me. After I started reducing distractions, something strange happened. Even when I wasn't on my phone anymore, my brain still acted like it was scrolling. One night, my daughter was giggling on the living room floor, playing with a stuffed animal that looked like it had survived a mild house fire. She was fully present, laughing, rolling, living her best toddler life, and I was thinking about email. She's right in front of me doing the cutest thing any human has ever done in the history of Earth, and I'm mentally reorganizing my emails like some deranged productivity accountant. I realized I wasn't behind on work, I was behind on life. When I finally forced myself to slow down, even for a few breaths, I started noticing things I hadn't paid attention to in years. The way her nose crinkles when she laughs, the hum of the fridge at night, how the morning light changes the color of my office wall. Nothing big, nothing dramatic, but those tiny details made my days feel whole again. Like pieces of my attention were finally returning. And now, whenever I catch myself rushing, brushing my teeth, or getting my daughter dressed for bed, I pause. Not to be enlightened, not to be mindful, just to remind myself I'm right here. Not behind, not late, here. You're not always behind, you're just scattered. Your attention is stretched like pizza dough, thin, fragile, and slightly tragic looking, but the moment you stop slicing your day into 1,000 micro moments, your mind stops glitching like a browser with too many tabs open. And suddenly you start remembering things. Finishing things, enjoying things, arriving in things. You stop running ahead of your own life and start moving with it. Slowing down doesn't make you less productive, it just makes you feel less like you're sprinting through your own day with your shoelaces tied together. And that feeling, that quiet sense of, oh, I'm okay. That's what it's like to be caught up. Not because the world slowed down, but because you did. And if you made it to this point without checking your phone, your email, the fridge, or Googling something wildly unrelated, you're already less behind than you think. You're just finally here long enough to notice. If you want more videos about habits, psychology, and why we all feel like we're 3 steps behind a race nobody asked us to run, hit subscribe. I post every week unless I get distracted brushing my teeth again, which is honestly highly possible. Don't overthink it, just tap it. One finish action is all it takes to feel a little more caught up.